everybody. I'm Shane Thompson, Kitesurfing Magazine. We're here at the AWSI show. This is Sky Solback from Duotone Kites, and nice to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Great to be here.
Awesome to be here. Beautiful day, and yeah, Sky's going to take us through the new lineup of kites.
Yeah, let's check them out.
Yeah.
We can start with these ones right behind us here. This is our new Neo. So this is a kite that I personally work on a lot. We developed this kite in Maui, and this is our wave-specific kite. So it's one of our best-sold kites in the range. Did a few things to update it this year, just some small improvements. And the big story this year is all the different materials we've been working on. So last year we introduced the SLS construction, which stands for strong, light, stiff, and that utilizes our Penta TX fabric.
Is that
so
a Penta TX? Is that something that Duotone developed specifically for
that's a fabric that we developed together with a cloth manufacturer. And it's basically lighter and stiffer, and just gives the kite, just different flight properties, makes it, stiffer, more reactive.
It's mainly used in the leading edge and the struts?
In the leading edge and the struts, yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Yeah, so all the inflatable parts are made with the Penta TX.
Awesome.
The main thing with the Neo this year is we worked a lot on the tip shape. So if you see the kite flying, it's got a little bit more square wingtip. Just makes the wingtips a bit more powerful. You can manipulate the tips easier. It's just a very reactive kite, really quick turning.
So the Neo has been like your kind of wave kite that the guys have been winning the competitions on, like the board off freestyle.
Right. Yep.
What was your design kind of parameters that you're trying to improve upon this kite for this year?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting because, looking at what those guys are doing now, they're doing all these giant airs and loops and mega loops and all this crazy stuff. So, we've had to sort of adapt to what those guys' needs are.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't say that the Neo is as good of a jumping kite as, like, say, the Rebel.
Right.
So it's mainly about maneuverability and drift and all the things that make it a good wave kite. But if you take it out in a lot of wind, I think people can be really surprised how well the Neo actually jumps.
Right.
And it's so reactive, and that's, I think, what those guys like, is when they're jumping and doing these crazy maneuvers, they need to be able to swing the kite to catch themselves for a soft landing, and they're able to swing the kite.
They need to do that with one hand because they're holding
exactly.
the board.
Yeah, they got the board off with one hand, and they're only one hand on the bar. So having a kite that's as reactive as this makes all the difference.
Is that what the squared off wingtips help do to make it a little more snappy? Or? Yeah,
so that more squared wingtip shape and a little bit different profile shape in the wingtip. So basically it's just, basically this section from the last strut to here, it's mainly this corner that is different. So if you see the two kites flying, last year's versus this one, you'll notice that this is a little more angular shape. And it just allows you to manipulate the tip easier when you're steering. And I think it just feels like a very reactive, snappy, quick, crisp kite. And it's got all the great things that make it a great wave kite. Great drift and all those things, and now improved steering too. So.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Is this your favorite kite that you use the most, or
this is my go-to kite for sure? Yeah, this is the.
You live on Maui, so.
Yeah, this
wave season's coming.
Wave season's coming, and luckily last season we had a really good year for waves, and we were able to put a lot of work into this kite. So, we keep finding a lot more things to improve, and it helps having team riders like these guys pushing it and giving us feedback as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any changes on the bridles or?
No, not too much change on the bridle. The main changes are, so basically we have a little slightly shorter cord length here in the center, so slightly shorter center strut, and then a wider wingtip, and that's pretty much all about the steering, properties that I was talking about. And that's really the main changes. So different tip shape and a little bit narrower in the center. And I think flying it last year's to this year's, you'll just notice that this is more reactive, more snappy. Yeah.
Some people thought, I think, we did do a little bit of testing last year, but not as much because it was a pandemic. I remember the original Neo, people loved it because they could always depend on it to be able to ride a size smaller.
Yeah.
Is that still the case with this one, or is it?
Yeah, I think that's still the case. Yeah, it has a lot of power. We actually, one other little change is a little bit flatter in the center and a little bit fuller in the tips. And that kind of has two things one to do with the steering, but also just sort of puts, gives a little, taking out a little bit of shape there and adding a little bit of shape there, sort of keeps the same amount of power, but makes the steering even smoother. So yeah, it was just a way to make the kite steer smoother and still maintain that low end grunt that people expect from a Neo.
Cool, awesome. And then, so the Neo SLS, is the Neo always in the SLS? Or
so we have two versions of the Neo right now. So we
Yeah.
have the SLS version, and then we have the original version. So the
Okay.
original just being the standard Dacron construction,
Okay.
and then the Neo SLS, which is the next step up
Right.
in performance.
Cool.
And yeah, so we offer it in the two different constructions.
And would you recommend, if you're a hardcore wave rider, go right to the SLS versus the?
I think
or-
anyone who's like a seasoned kiter that
Yeah.
expects demands the most of their gear would want to go straight to the SLS for
Yeah.
sure, because it really is a step up, and if you fly the two back to back, you can
What
definitely feel
percentage
the
of
difference.
difference is the weight between the two, would you say? 20%?
I think we have like don't quote me on this, but I think it's about a 30% weight
Wow,
difference.
30%.
Something like that. So
That's a lot.
we might have to check the figures on that though.
We'll say 30.
Yeah. So for me, it's more about the feel
Yeah.
than the weight itself. You
differs,
really
'cause
notice
it's
the
stiffer,
difference.
right?
Yeah,
Is it
the
the-
kite just feels much more agile and much more direct in your hands. So
Yeah.
if you're the kind of rider who really wants the most of their gear, I think.
What about the
makes
bladders?
sense.
Are the bladders different as well? between
The
two?
bladders are the same for
Okay.
these ones. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's,
Cool. And then we have, this here is the Dice and Dice SLS. So same thing, two different constructions. So yeah, really the big story for the Dice this year is that we're now offering it in the SLS construction.
Right, and the Dice is for the kind of crossover wave slash. Maybe
Yeah, it's-
freestyle or.
It's
an
kind of our
all-around,
it's
or-
kind of our do everything kite. Definitely more on like the wake style, jumping, looping, kind of
Yeah.
a rider who likes to do some wake style and unhook, but also send it huge and do big mega loops and
Or is
big
it a
airs.
park, probably.
Yeah, and you can use it in the park. It's kind of like a wake slash jumping crossover, and it's also great in the waves actually because it's a 3-strut kite, so it's pretty light, has pretty good drift. So next to the Neo, it would be our next best wave kite. So
Wow.
it's kind of a do everything kite. If I look at how our team riders use it, it's definitely the guys that are like unhooking and doing some wake stuff, and then doing like massive scent loops and that kind of style of riding. So yeah, great
Cool.
all-rounder.
Nice. Any new changes on the bar this year, or?
Not too many changes on the bar. No, pretty much the same bar. We can go check out the juice.
Yes.
So this was a big project this year. The guys developed this kite in Europe on the lakes. They did tons of light wind testing up on these high mountain lakes, and it's a really lightweight kite. So it's a complete redesign of the juice, and it's done with our new D-Lab technology. So that's the Alula material
Oh, wow.
for all the inflated parts, so the
Yep.
leading edge and struts.
Yep.
So super lightweight as we can possibly make it, and 3 struts, which also reduces the weight quite a bit. And yeah, this thing will basically fly in close to no wind at all.
Wow. So this is
Yeah.
your lightweight weapon for
So, exactly.
13 meter in, like, what would you say? 8 mile an hour you're going?
I mean, if you
6 or
can
8?
if you can keep the kite flying, if you can
air.
get the kite up and keep it in the air, then you're going for sure.
Wow.
And it'll fly. I think the guys said it'll fly in like 3 to 5 knots or something like that.
Really?
And the amazing thing about the Alula material is, being that lightweight, a lot of times you can, with a normal kite, you can get it over your head and it'll fly, but as soon as you get it down and you want to do a power stroke to come back up, it'll do this stall thing and go backwards.
Yeah.
And yeah, with the lighter weight material, it'll come back up.
And
And
what
that's really
about
the
in
magic of
the
it.
upper end? A lot of times, like, a lot of companies are getting rid of the struts,
Yeah.
and then they have a kite. How's this kite comparing if your wind picks up 5 knots, are you gonna?
I mean,
wanna get off, or-
it's a 3-strut, so
Yeah.
it does have quite a bit of structure, but it's not like it's not like a Rebel where you'd be
Right.
riding a 10-meter Rebel in 35 knots, and
Right.
it's just this beast and super solid. So yeah, this is definitely made more for the low end, but it'll handle quite a bit of wind as well. Yeah, the magic thing with this is it's kind of a kite that you just have one size in your quiver.
Right.
So it's your one light wind kite that you
Yep.
get, and it's like your magic light
What
wind kite when
sizes does
nothing
it
else
come
works.
in? Does it come in like
It-
limited, more limited
It comes
sizes?
in I think it comes in 11, 13, 15.
Okay,
if I'm
yeah.
not
So
mistaken.
the bigger
Yeah.
sizes.
Yeah, and so the way that we've done that is like, so you'd pretty much choose it as your biggest kite.
Right.
So whatever your biggest kite would be, whether you're a small person and 13 is your biggest kite, then you'll get the 13. If you're a bigger person and a 15 is your biggest kite, then you get the 15.
Cool.
So yeah. So if you're a lightweight person, you don't need to get the 15 because it's overkill.
Right.
So you can just get a 13 as your biggest kite, and that'll work in the lightest possible wind that you'll ever be able to go in. Like you won't get any more out of a 15 being if you're only 130 pounds or something,
Right.
versus a guy who's 200 pounds will want to get to 15.
Amazing. So we have the Neo.
Yeah, so that's pretty much
Juice.
that's the range. And we have the Rebel. We have the Rebel SLS.
yeah.
It's hiding under here.
Can't forget the Rebel.
Yeah.
The Rebel's always been the
Yeah.
free ride.
Yeah, so the Rebel
of
is,
air.
full on big air, big jumping kite. It's been in our range for a very long time, and it's been.
Now, is this the first year for the SLS?
So that's the big change this year for the Rebel is on the SLS material. So it has the Penta leading edge and struts, and then it has actually the flex struts in the tips.
Oh yeah.
Which is something I failed to mention on the Neo actually, is we do the flex struts and the tips.
And so that they just flex.
Yeah, so this is a more flexible material than the Penta.
I see.
So this is all about improving the steering. So just allows the tips to flex more when you're steering with the bar.
Cool.
So yeah, quicker, smoother steering, and going to the Penta material for the Rebel made such a huge difference for this kite. It just made it feel so much more lively and crisp and reactive and quick, and and lighter, of course. So yeah, it just feels like a much more lively kite than last year's Rebel.
And do people find it boosts better with the, obviously the lighter weight? You're probably gonna.
Yeah, I think even more so than the lighter weight. I think it jumps better just because it's so much more reactive and so much more crisp. So by crisp, I mean like when you sheet in the bar, it's like sheet and go, right? It's like power on, power off.
And that's all again the stiffer frame.
Yeah, the stiffness in the material and locking the profile into where it needs to be. So yeah, I mean, if you're super lit up on the Rebel, you can just sort of bring it overhead and pull in the bar, and you just
Cool.
and you just go. So yeah, the stiffer material has made all the difference for jumping for sure for the Rebel.
Amazing.
Cool.
Cool. You want to take us? Let's go. Are we going to go through the kite or the surfboards?
You do surfboards?
Next?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
This is kind of your.
Yeah, this is kind of my baby a little bit, the surfboards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are all, for the most part, new shapes. I can go through individually. We have 3 different constructions for the surfboards for this year. So we have our original construction, which is the bamboo epoxy tech. So these are kind of more made for strap riding. They have most of the reinforcements underneath the heels where you would be standing when you're riding with foot straps.
Yeah.
So they're a really bomber construction. They're still a really great weight if you pick them up. It's pretty amazing weight, and the bamboo just gives you good impact resistance and good dampening. We have cork dampening under the heels here, and glass fiber reinforcements. So that's the original construction. So the models that come in this construction are the Whip and the Wham. So just those 2 models. And they come in 3 sizes each. And then we have our SLS construction, which is a construction we introduced last year. It's kind of it was a development of what we used to call our Pro construction. And the big difference there is we started using this Innegra material. So if you look closely at the board, you can see the Innegra weave. And basically, we're able to reduce a lot of the fiberglass layers and replace it with this Innegra material. And what's cool about the Innegra material is it's kind of like a plasticky sort of material, so it has like natural dampening. So it takes a lot of that high frequency vibration out of the boards, which the cork shock absorber also does, but now you get even more dampening from the Integra. And we're able to save also a lot of weight because we can take out a lot of glass fiber layers and replace it with this Integra. And then the other really cool benefit of this is it's really ding resistant because the Integra material is a lot less brittle than fiberglass. Like on a fiberglass board, if you hit it really hard, it'll sort of crack and splinter. Whereas this stuff just has so much flex that you can like knock your board and it doesn't splinter the same way that fiberglass does. So basically, you're getting a board that has better dampening, more better ding resistance, and is lighter. So
it'll actually pop itself out. That's amazing because
a
lot of times you love a surfboard, but the heel dents get so bad that you're like not quite there anymore, right? But
yeah, sure. Yeah, and it's great for heel dents as well. So this board has the cork inlay under the deck, and then a new construction that we're introducing this year is called our D-Lab construction. So this is our highest end construction. It's just like the SLS construction, except instead of the cork shock absorber, we have a memory foam shock absorber. So it's called the RMF shock absorber, which stands for reflex memory foam.
Oh, wow. And
so it's a 3 millimeter. If you look closely, maybe you can see it. Maybe you don't even see it on this board, but there's a full inlay on the whole stance of the board. It's about a 3 millimeter layer of this foam, and the RMF foam, it's actually used a lot in shoes. Like companies like Reebok and Adidas use it in their high-end running shoes. And the magic thing about it is its memory properties. So you can squish it and it comes right back really quickly.
Wow.
So it works in the same way as the cork, like as a shock absorber. So it dampens the whole feel of the board, but it has much quicker memory than cork does.
Right.
And it also absorbs less resin than cork, so we're able to save some weight. So it's the same idea as the cork, but just like another level above in terms of the way it feels and the durability and the way that the heel dents come back. So
that's the D-Lab.
This is the D-Lab, yeah. So if you sink your heels into this, it doesn't come back immediately, but you'll notice like if you get start getting some heel dents after a long session, you can put it in your car. The next morning you'll come and check your board and the heel dents will have come back up. So. It doesn't completely prevent heel dents, but it definitely lessens them quite a bit. So that's the different constructions. So shape-wise, we completely updated the whip shape, completely redid the wham shape, and also made some small changes on the session for sizes.
Cool.
You want to go through all those changes? Or?
Sure, if you want. Well, yeah, sure. Why not? They will.
Let's find out a bit more about the session.
Okay, so the session comes in 3 sizes, a 5'8", a 5'10", and a 6'0". And this is kind of, our, I guess it's kind of like a board that works really well in bigger waves, but it's not necessarily just a big wave board. It's a great all-rounder. This board's all about, maximum control. So, of course, that's great when you're going really fast on a big wave, but it's also great in just like choppy water, rough conditions. So if you're a guy who wants to have a lot of control, and you can ride this board with foot straps or without. It's kind of a hybrid construction with foot strap inserts. It's a great all-rounder with lots of control, great carving, likes to stay really connected to the face of the wave.
Really nice.
And you can ride it as a 4-fin or as a 3-fin.
What do you find the biggest differences between a 4 and 3-fin setup?
Just the way it sort of turns. It's just a little bit different sensation the way it turns. I think with 3 fins, you sort of just have that like real locked in positive back foot pressure when you're sort of coming off the bottom. You can really like pump and feel the projection off your back foot. Whereas with 4 fins, I think it's kind of like when you transition from your heel side to your toe side, there's a little bit of a gap in between. Like it doesn't give you quite that positive feel. But it's less draggy, so you can go faster, I think, on quads. So I tend to use quads when the waves are bigger and I'm not going necessarily as vertical top to bottom, but more sort of like longer open face turns. I really like quads. And then 3 fins is more when it's top to bottom, more vertical, sort of in the pocket surfing.
Back down.
Yeah. So. And then the wham for this year comes in a lot of sizes from 5'3" all the way up to 5'11". We have 5'3", 5'5", 5'7", 5'9", 5'11", 5 sizes. And this board got a major update this year. I worked a lot together with our team riders Patri and Olivia on Maui. They did a lot of testing with me. And yeah, basically this board is just the all-rounder of the range. It's a board that you can pretty much use in all conditions. It's a really easy board to ride. It's got a lot of control. But I think compared to last year's board, it's just much more lively, much more snappy. It pivots a lot tighter off the top. So I think it's a lot more exciting board to ride than last year's WAM in a lot of ways. But I think it's a board that anyone can jump on and feel pretty comfortable.
And again, it comes in both the 2 constructions.
And this one will come in all 3 constructions.
All 3?
This comes in the original construction, the SLS, and the D-Lab.
Right, there's the WAM
Yeah.
and the original D-Lab.
Exactly, yep.
Cool.
And then we have the fish. This board's actually unchanged from last year. So this comes in 3 sizes, 5'1", 5'3", and 5'5". This has been,
Channel down the middle, right?
yeah, this has been a really interesting board. It's gotten pretty popular over the last year, especially with our team riders. Like at first they were going, I don't know, fish, I don't know if I want to. And then the more people start to ride it, I think the more they appreciate the performance. It's a very easy board to ride, I think. Anyone can jump on it, and it's just a really easygoing board. But it kind of works in a pretty, like most people think of a fish as just working in really tiny waves,
Right.
which it does that really well. But you can ride it in overhead waves and it'll handle speed really well. It doesn't feel skatey and weird like a lot of fishes do.
Right.
So it's kind of like a high performance small wave board is kind of how I would categorize it.
And it comes, it's a quad. Or a
it's
quad
just
and?
a 3-fin.
Yeah,
Yep, this one just comes as a 3-fin. Yep. And yeah, the channel down the center is all about just control basically. It kind of makes the board feel just settled in the water, so it's not sort of bouncing and rocking around. It sort of just gives the water, it just kind of flushes right through the center, and this spine down the center just sort of splits the water as you're going through the chop. So I think it's just a really easy, forgiving board to ride, which some people might mistake as being, not high performance.
Yeah.
But to me, if something's really easy to ride, I think that's the sign that it's a fun board to ride, because it's kind of will just work in whatever you throw at it.
So your typical day on Maui when you say, okay, I'm gonna say like a 6-foot day, and you're like,
I ride them all. No. I don't know what to ride. Actually, I kind of go through phases. I was riding this a lot.
Yeah.
The last year, I was riding the fish all the time, and it was hard to get me off of this board.
Yeah.
And then I started working on this WAM together with the team riders, and then I got really into that for a while. And I don't know. I kind of ride. Yeah, it just kind of goes in phases. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing with kiting, right? You can ride literally anything on any day.
Yeah, you can
But
keep yourself motivated to.
Yeah. It's fun to have different shapes for different sensations, I guess. Okay, this is the whip. This is, I think, our most popular board, our best-selling board. And this one got a really big update this year as well. It's got a little bit, it's based on last year's board, but it's got a little bit narrower nose and a little bit different tail shape here. So with the narrower nose, it just feels a lot more free through the turn, so there's no catching in your top turn. So it's a narrower nose and actually more rocker. So.
And this is the guys, the strapless freestyle guys, gonna go with that?
Yeah, this is kind of like a strapless freestyle, but I mean I would call it like a high performance all-rounder also.
Right.
Like you can use this board pretty much
not just for strapless
in good
freestyle,
waves
but
too.
It definitely works, but it also
Yeah.
it does waves.
Yeah, I mean if you were to choose one board kind of for everything, I think this would be it, because it works as like a full-on high performance. This would basically almost replace a high performance shortboard like a WAM.
Wow.
But you can also use it as a strapless freestyle board. So there's a lot of crossover between the conditions these boards will work in, depending on what style you want to go for. But more nose rocker, slightly narrower nose, just gives it more, more flow, more freedom through the turns, not as much catching. I mean, practically zero catching. And then a little bit different tail shape. It's got kind of this bump squash tail, where last year we had sort of a winger that brought the tail in. And this is something that drove me crazy for a couple years, working on this tail shape, trying to dial everything in perfectly. And it's just a really balanced design, I think.
So when you're designing a shape, like, how do you go about? Okay, I want to change the tail. You like shape it out, hand it yourself, and lay it out yourself first.
Yeah, I have a workshop at home, so I basically do the whole process there. I from design to building to everything, and then take it to the beach and test it. Yeah. and it's it's always different. I mean, whether it's coming from ideas that I have or ideas that team riders have given me or customers have given me, and I just kind of
and
try to take that all in and make changes.
Like when you do it from scratch and then the production one comes back, how close is it to the shape that you...
Yeah, we have it really dialed now, actually. I have a lot of communication regularly with our factory, and they're amazing. They do such great work. So yeah, we've refined it to a point now where I can do the whole process, prototyping and everything on Maui to get the final shape, and literally send them a file. And then it goes into the second stage, which is the construction details with them. So we work a lot with the factory on construction stuff. But as far as the shape, they can make it exactly like my file. So that's amazing. Cool. Technology, it's pretty cool.
And do you ride the stock fins, or do you usually?
I do actually ride the stock fins. I love these fins. These are such great fins. This is our carbon compound fin, and this is a fin.
Because a lot of brands, they just give you,
just plastic fins. Yeah, and I think a lot of people probably look at these fins and go, oh, they're just like plastic fins.
Right.
Which they are. They're plastic carbon mix.
Yeah.
But this is a fin that we worked on a lot, about a year and a half, well, maybe about two seasons ago, I guess, on Maui. We designed these fins together with Kai Hop, who does windsurf. He does our windsurf sail design for Duotone, and he's an incredible fin maker. And I did a lot of prototypes with him, and we made this shape. Cool. And it's such a great all-around fin. I've tested it against a lot of name brand fins, and I've always come away really impressed with these fins. So this is what I use in basically everything. Small waves, big waves. This is a great all-around fin.
Amazing.
So, yeah, and actually, I mean, the flex characteristics of this material are really, really good. Like, it's pretty amazing. So they have a really stiff base and a flexy tip.
Right.
And if you look at the way that the thickness flows on these fins, it's pretty different to other fins.
Yeah, I was noticing that. It almost looks like there's like a ridge, but there isn't, but I guess it's just the look of it. But it definitely kind of comes really
I mean,
tight.
if you look at how thin the actual tip is here, the profile, because what happens when you have a raked fin like this, you have a profile which is getting thinner and thinner because the cord length is getting narrower and narrower, and then suddenly your cord length jumps up again when you reach here. So how do you control the profile when it gets this longer cord length here? And so that's what we spent a lot of time with on this fin, and making a really nice profile on the tip.
People don't realize how much importance the fin is to the performance of your board in a way,
Yeah, without the fin, the board doesn't work. So you better have good fins, that's for sure. Yeah. So yeah, that pretty much takes us through our range. The fish is kind of small wave, high performance, and then the next step up in terms of wave size, I guess, would be the whip, which is kind of like strapless freestyle, high performance, small to medium wave.
Yep.
And then the next step up from that would be the wham, which is like the high performance, all round, squash, sort of standard shortboard. Mm-hmm. And then the next step up from there would be the session, which is kind of like your bigger wave. Cool. Lots of boards to choose from.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking us through that.
No problem.
The range looks amazing, and we're looking forward to getting out there and trying some stuff soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.